guys, and welcome back. So I am still in Cairo, Egypt, and I am at the main National Museum here. It will have everything. So all the stuff that used to be in the pyramids, that they had kept along with the kings at the time of their death. So now the pyramids itself have nothing inside except, of course, the actual structure. But everything, the jewelry, the mummies, everything, whatever that was left over there, they've moved into the museums now. So I'm going to enter the museum just now. It opens at 9 o'clock. If you have a student card, and I have a student card, I didn't bring it, it would have been 230 Egyptian pound, which would be really just about $5, I think. And now it costs twice as much if you don't. So the museum was built in 1897, so it's very historical in itself, but it looks very new, so they must have done some renovation, something of that. Huge crowds of people. I mean, obviously, I'm not even generally a museum person, but even I'm here. It's really compelling and cannot be missed while you're in Egypt. So this is the burial chamber of Deshri, the chief of the estate, and the walls of these chambers are decorated with scenes of food and drinks. And they believe that Ka, which is the vital force of the deceased, could read these symbols, and so it would actually be converted into actual food and drink for the deceased. Such an interesting concept. So at the back of every tomb on the west wall, they used to have something known as a false door. Basically, the false door was sort of a symbolic door. It wasn't a real door. That's why it's called false. And it's through this door that the spirit of the deceased, or the Ka as they called it, would enter and exit, the other world. And the reason it would come back from the other world is to receive offerings placed by the family members on a table. So they also had like these stone tables where things would be offered to the deceased. So this is the offering table that you can see, where they would place food or any offering to the deceased. So below the step pyramid, there was lots and lots of different chambers and rooms, and so that was the burial area for the king and his family. And along with space, there was also walls that were decorated in blue and green, and the blue and green colors represented new growth and regeneration in the afterlife. So everything that they did had some kind of meaning, and actually they've removed a lot of this stuff from the actual pyramid and they've placed it in the museum here. So that's why it becomes almost equally important to visit the pyramids as well as the museum. So in the old kingdom, even the women had quite powerful status, and they were even allowed the privilege of being buried in small pyramids along with the husbands. So that's why if you visit the actual pyramid sites, you will see that along with the big pyramids for King Khufu and Khafre, you find the smaller ones, and those are for the wives and the children and everything. This is a model of the shepherds at the time and how they used to live. It's really cute. This is Tutankhamun, one of the most well-known pharaohs of Egypt. Firstly, because he became king at the age of 9 and he died at the age of 18. Second reason is because his tomb was only discovered in 1922, but it's also believed to be a cursed tomb because anybody that was involved in the excavation and just basically Egyptologists involved in this
Many of them either died just suddenly or they faced different types of misfortunes. So the person that funded it was George Herbert, and he died of poisoning, blood poisoning, and the cause of that was a simple mosquito bite, and he died within a few months of discovering this tomb. Filming in this section at the museum was also quite tricky because you're not allowed to film this Tutankhamun section of the museum.
So basically, the ancient Egyptians believed that if you lived a good and moral life, then your soul would live eternally. The soul they also refer to as Ka or Ba or even Aka, depending on the period in question. So anyway, so that is the reason. And they also believed that the soul would re-enter the corpse, which is why they would preserve it, and the whole process of mummification was to serve this very purpose. So for the mummification process, though, they first removed the brain through the nose, and then the stomach, intestines, lungs and liver were removed and they were dried separately. Note that the heart still remained, and there's a special reason for that. We'll come to that in the end. So these main things, the stomach, intestines, liver, they were all taken out, preserved. And then the corpse itself was washed in palm wine. It was dried, and then it was buried in a mixture of salt and baking soda for 40 days. And for the next 30 days, the body was cleaned and oiled, and then the prayers were read over it and then wrapped in linen. After this, the mummy now was taken to the tomb, and the priests carried out different types of prayers on it. And then they say that once in the tomb, the spirit of the deceased, now the heart is still intact, remember, so then the heart of the deceased would be weighed against the symbol of truth, which is known as mat. Now if the heart was heavier than the mat, then the monster known as Amit would devour and destroy the deceased. If the heart weighed the same as the mat, then the god of the afterworld known as Osiris would then ask them or invite the deceased to live eternally in a divine and perfect world. Once you exit the museum, you walk through the bookstore and the gift store. All types of books and all types of artifacts are being sold. Of course, I've stopped by artifacts and souvenirs a long time ago, because over time they just become rubbish. I think the best souvenirs, in fact, are the videos I'm making. So overall, what did I think of the museum? Of course, it was very well done, very interesting. I finally got to see an actual mummy. So Tutankhamun, the history a little bit. So overall, it was really interesting. However, I don't know if it's because, at the end of the day, it still has a little bit of, it's still all related to the dead. So I don't know. There's something, it's not positive, like, it's interesting, but it's not positive, like, I don't know how to explain it.
This video had a little bit of everything. I really hope you enjoyed it. Do consider subscribing. See you in the next video. Thank you. Take care.